Are you ready to take your business to the next level? Every day there are countless books and articles that are published offering the key on how to make your business a success. It's easy to feel overwhelmed trying to keep up and run your business. That's why Deb Creer created the Business Power Hour. Keep up on the latest trends, best practices, and techniques for how to make your business a success. Let the Business Power Hour do the heavy work for you.
Good morning, good morning. I am Deb Creer, and I am passionate about giving professionals the tools that they need to make themselves and their businesses as successful as possible. And today we are continuing our LinkedIn series. This is so much fun. I love talking about LinkedIn, especially because for me, it is the professional tool. I've said it before, I'll say it again, and I will continue saying it. If you are a business professional, you have to be on LinkedIn. No ifs, no ands, no buts about it. You have to be on LinkedIn. And so today we're going to have so much fun talking with my guest about this. So please join me in welcoming Melanie Asher to our program today. Welcome, Melanie.
Thanks, Debbie. Deb, I'm really excited to be here. So
great.
Let's get started.
Perfect. Well, let me tell people a little bit about you, and then we will jump in on this. So mixing brand development, strategy, and implementation, Melanie Asher, MBA, works with her clients to build brands worthy of going viral. Her work moves your brand from just marketing into the day-to-day operations of your business, delivering improved communications, branding initiatives worthy of going viral, and stronger community relations that will transform your business. As founder, speaker, and brand catalyst of Omicle, LLC, she is a powerful, sought-after speaker and international author of 3 books on culture-driven brands. So again, Melanie, welcome.
Thank you.
Great. Well, you have an unusual company name, Omicle. You've been doing this for a while. How did you get to where you are today and determine that this was your passion in life?
I'm what I call an accidental entrepreneur. When I went through college the first time around, I had a professor who took me under his wing and kind of mentored me and magically was like, go take care of this project. Go take care of that project. Go take care of this project. And I ended up getting a really sweet deal with the college that I basically became their unofficial PR person.
Ooh.
And I was told as long as I keep my grades up, I do not have to follow the strict attendance policy that the college had.
Nice.
And I was like, but I want to go to class.
Yeah.
So the whole time I was in college, anytime the college had some version of a community effort, I would take the school's equipment, I would go do whatever needed to be done, go to class at the same time, keep my grades up, and I just got really well connected within the community, really a broad level of experience. And once I graduated, I started getting checks. And I was like,
money.
Oh.
Money. We like money.
I didn't know that was possible. I just assumed and kind of figured that it was part of school and classes. And so the more I just kind of consciously kept building it, and I've had jobs over the years, and no matter what jobs I have, work just always kind of kept coming to me and coming to me and coming to me. And started off doing more traditional branding and marketing, meaning brand identity and materials and physical, tangible things that you can turn over. Building custom websites from a very early on period, as the internet was first starting to boom, and even had a tool before WordPress that allowed my clients to manage their own sites.
Wow.
But you can't compete with WordPress and free, so
right.
All the effort that went into building that basically was lost because of WordPress. It wasn't a marketable solution, and it was better to adopt WordPress.
Right.
And over the years, as that changed, I also kind of began to shift from just physical materials into
Mhm.
more of a brand strategy.
Mhm.
Because I started to see how some companies could. I had one client who, I kid you not, they gave their 5-year-old markers. And that's how they created
That's
all
how
of
they
their
created their
marketing
logo.
materials.
Mhm.
Their logo, their marketing materials,
Mhm.
everything.
Right. Which,
Their
if their
business.
audience are 5-year-olds,
No, they weren't.
no. Hmm.
No. And their business thrived.
Mhm.
And then I had other clients who, with my designs, they, won awards,
Mhm.
but then they went out of business. And I'm like, okay, there's something missing here.
Right.
It's not just about the physical design.
Mhm.
And so I really started to dive into this more. And the more I dove into it, it's like, oh, there's an operational connection.
Mm.
How you do what you say you do.
Mhm.
Anybody can come up with a clever tagline
Right.
and post it on the wall behind them,
Mhm.
or post it on a brochure, or
Mhm.
post it on a website. It's about how you do what you say you do.
Mhm.
And just to say that you have quality or you're full service, it doesn't mean anything.
Right. I'm hoping that they're full service, and it better be quality.
Exactly. Nobody's doing business with anybody just because they say quality service
Right.
or we're a full service firm.
Mhm.
That's not why you choose to do business with
Mhm.
somebody. When you buy an airline ticket, do you expect them in their marketing materials to say, hey, we'll land the plane?
Yeah. They better. That's kind of an assumed.
Right. And
Mhm.
that's what quality and full service
Mhm.
mean.
Mhm.
They're assumed behaviors and practices that each business has.
Mhm.
So what makes you stand out from others?
Mhm.
And as I began to piece this together and shifted how I was working with my clients, I noticed they started getting better results.
Mm.
And I got more excited about their work because it became part of the story.
Mhm.
It became part of something bigger.
Mhm.
It wasn't just icing on a cake.
Right.
It was uh, it was beliefs, it was values, it was integrity
Mhm.
all throughout. And that's what got to me.
Mhm.
And that's where I got excited. And I got excited because they were excited.
Right.
It was no longer a Band-Aid fix.
Mhm.
And so in recent years, that's specifically how I work. My
Mm.
tagline, building brands worthy of going viral,
Mhm.
that word worthy
Mhm.
is key.
Right.
It's very key.
Mhm.
When I finally settled on that, I settled on it because it didn't matter who I talked to. The response was the same.
Mhm.
I'm worthy. Why am I not viral?
Right. And viral in a good way, not
Mhm.
viral because you did something so wonkadoodle or out there that it's just a flash in the pan, and in many cases not what you really want to be known for.
Exactly. And then there's also the other element of whether you're an entrepreneur or you're a leader of a $500 million company,
Mm-hmm.
you don't walk around going, hey, we got a branding problem.
Right.
But they do walk around and say, I hate social media.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't work.
Right. Yeah.
Great.
Mm-hmm.
Let's have a conversation.
Mm-hmm.
And because of how I work with my clients in this particular area, they begin to see, oh, social media is not just another task that you do,
Right.
but it actually has a purpose.
Mm-hmm.
It connects to the operations,
Mm-hmm.
and it helps us streamline what we do,
Mm-hmm.
how we do it, and most importantly, how we communicate
Mm-hmm.
what we do and who we're communicating to.
Right. And it's an integral part,
Mhm.
and what drives me nuts are the people who do it as the afterthought.
Yes.
We have a Facebook page because everybody else has a Facebook page. Or more importantly, we have LinkedIn pages because people are supposed to have LinkedIn pages, but we have no clue what to do with them.
Yes.
And so they go in, they set up their LinkedIn page, and never the twain shall meet, you know,
Yes.
and they don't go back. But,
Mhm.
you know, as you were talking, one of the things that struck me is, and especially because we're going to be talking about LinkedIn, is there, and if so, what is the difference between a company brand and your personal brand?
That is a fabulous question. And to piggyback what you were just saying, the companies that do take that approach of
Mhm.
having social media be an afterthought,
Mhm.
while they think that they're doing what they're supposed to be doing, it is so obvious.
Right.
You can go to a LinkedIn company page, you
Mhm.
can go to a Facebook company
Mhm.
page, and you can tell if they think it's an afterthought
Right. Mhm.
because it's not integrated.
Mhm.
It's something else, it's
Mhm.
outside.
Mhm.
So, the difference between a company brand and a personal brand, the company brand is about the company. Whether you are a company of one or a company of 500 or
Mhm.
even 5,000, it doesn't matter. The company has its own personality.
Mhm.
It should have its own personality, its own voice. You're probably going to have multiple people managing your social media.
Mhm.
It should always have a consistent voice, a consistent
Right.
feel, a consistent thought
Mhm.
process. And then employees who are a part of the company brand, so they have their personal brands,
Mhm.
when they share and interact with the company, then they're adding their personal perspective, their
Mhm.
personal brand
Right.
to the flair of the company
Mhm.
brand.
Right.
Same thing is true if you are a small entrepreneur of one.
Mhm.
Your company has its own personality. You are the owner.
Mhm.
You have your own experiences, your own life. When you go to the park with your kids, when you go on a hike or whatever your personal hobbies are, that's you as a person.
Mhm.
That's not the company.
Right.
They're different.
Mhm.
And it's about understanding the differences, communicating from those different perspectives, but also uniting them.
Mhm. Right.
Because when you do that, you build the brand, you build the credibility,
Mhm.
and you make it more inviting so people can begin to see the difference of, oh, okay, so this company is known for this, this, and this, and here is the expert
Mhm.
that delivers that.
Right.
And we see that this expert is continuing to improve themselves, is going through this training, is working with this variety of clients. So they work together, but they're not always the same. And
Mhm.
that's where a lot of small business owners go wrong, is they think that they are the company.
Right.
And that mentality can become overwhelming.
Mhm.
So when you think of yourself instead of being the company, but instead of, and in the phrase of you're the expert that is provided from the company, oh, that's a different thought
Mhm.
process.
Right.
That's a different position in the market.
Mhm.
It makes you more marketable. It makes you more valuable.
Right. It's
And it
almost
builds
like we always need to think, you know, can the company exist separately? Now,
exactly.
granted, if it's like you, like me, I mean, we are the company. If we're
Mhm.
not here, the company doesn't exist. But you know, at the same point, there is that brand. You know, and big companies struggle with this also. I
Mhm.
mean, you
Yeah.
know, one of the biggest things is Tesla. You know,
Yep.
when Elon Musk says or does something, it reflects on the entire company. Their stock
It
price
does.
goes up, their stock price goes down. You know, I thought it was interesting last week that they announced that Bill Gates is stepping down really from the leadership of Microsoft. He stepped down a long time ago.
That
You know,
I
and
was just going to
I
say
know
that.
it was like, and it was funny because I hadn't realized, and you know, I knew he still served on the board and things like that, but yeah, he had not been the leader
Mhm.
for a long time. But you still associated it with him because he founded it and all of those things. But he's always been very conscious of the fact that when he opens his mouth, people still think he's speaking for Microsoft.
Yep.
You know, and so that'll be interesting to see now that he really is distancing himself more. I mean, you know, he is always going to be part of it, but yeah, it's tricky. But when it's, you know, the very small company, the company of one, you know, we're always told we have to be authentic. We have to, we have to let people know us so that they know, like, and trust and all of those things. But it's not know everything. We still, and I think that's one of the things that people forget, or maybe they do it on purpose. I mean, and it is that, my Facebook personal page is very different from my business pages.
Yes. And
are there overlaps? Sure.
Yep.
But, my business page, say the page for this. I mean, in my private life, I do a lot with showing dogs. That has absolutely nothing to do with this podcast. And, and so it would be very confusing if I started talking about it on my business page.
It would be.
Yeah,
so you brought up a very key buzzword that I love. And you reminded me that I actually do want to create something around this: authenticity.
Right.
As business owners, as business leaders, community leaders, like you said, we're told we need to be authentic. But nobody really talks about what authenticity is.
Yeah. You need to be you.
Yeah.
That sounds like a Sesame Street thing.
It does. In your case, the initial typical thought of authentic is, oh, well, I need to bring my dogs into this.
Right.
It's like, no, that's not authentic. Another common perception with authenticity is, oh, I just need to be the constant contrarian. No, you don't need to be that either. And no, being authentic doesn't mean you agree with every other big name person in your industry. Richard Branson or Bill Gates or somebody says something doesn't mean you immediately go and agree. It's showing that you can think for yourself. That's what being authentic is.
Right.
If Bill Gates says something and you agree with it, you agree and you add something of original thought.
I agree because.
Right. It's I agree because, or I agree and I want to add this additional thought. If you disagree, you can say, this is really cool what Bill Gates is saying, but here's my experience. I've landed more clients by using this formula on LinkedIn when I comment on posts than I have from any other marketing I've done.
Right.
And hands down, the feedback that I get from my clients is, you showed me you could think for yourself.
Right.
You agreed with relevant market points and you disagreed with relevant market points. But you didn't just take one extreme or the other.
Right.
You justified it and you showed that you can think, which means when you are in a situation that requires thought beyond a checklist, it means you're going to be able to help me get out of it.
Right. Right.
And that's valuable. That's how you show yourself as a thought leader, as an expert. You don't use those terms and say, hey, I'm a thought leader. Hey, I'm an expert. It makes you look ego.
Right. And of course, the what people like the most about LinkedIn is it is professional. I mean, I'm not going to be talking about my dogs there. We're not talking politics.
Don't share photos of your dinner unless you're a nutritionist.
Right. Yeah. And I tell people it's okay if it pertains. If you are, if somebody asked me one time, they said, I volunteer a lot for political campaigns. Should I put that on my LinkedIn profile? And I kind of pondered for a second and I said, yes, but show like the jobs, the skills. So like they manage budgets, they manage people, all of those various things. I said, you're not saying, that candidate X thought this. It was, you use it just like any other volunteer type of position. And so that's where LinkedIn, and I think that's why people are going to LinkedIn more and more is we don't have the overwhelming hit you over the head with all the personal stuff. Now we need it. We need a little bit of it on there because, that shows kind of who we are. That's why we post what school we went to, maybe what books we read, things like that.
Yeah.
But it again, it does need to tie in.
And this is where it's use a tool for what a tool is intended to be used for.
Right.
If you're trying to use LinkedIn in a way that you would use Facebook or Instagram or Snapchat or even TikTok, it's not going to work.
Right.
But if you understand LinkedIn's strengths and what it's intended to be used for, then you're going to get better results.
Right. Right.
And you're also going to fit into the algorithm, and LinkedIn's going to like you.
And your posts will come up more and all of those good things.
Exactly.
Right. You know, one of the things that people say, and it's kind of along these same lines, is it's boring. You know, because we're not generating controversy, we're not posting our vacation pictures, all of those various things. Now, you know, as I said, a lot of people like the fact that it is business and it is professional. But, you know, how do we get away from LinkedIn being, you know, there's this great article from Forbes. My company does this. You know, how do we get away from the boring parts of LinkedIn?
So that's the data actually backs up the boring part. If you look at the time spent across the different social media platforms, the latest was the average person spends 40 minutes on Facebook per day, and over half of the people who are on Facebook check it before they get out of bed.
Right. What's going on in my world?
Before they get out of bed, they're still in their jammies. They are still naked, and they are checking Facebook. 40 minutes per day, minimum. LinkedIn, on the other hand, is less than 5 seconds per month.
Why?
Yes. So when you look at it just from a data perspective, people are like, oh, Facebook is fun. It's watching TV. It's binge watching on Netflix. LinkedIn is work. It's obligation. But again, if you understand how the tool is intended to be used, the reason people spend less time on LinkedIn is because they go in, they do what they need to do, and then they get back to work.
Right. There's far fewer squirrels there.
Yes, far fewer. And it's been interesting to watch how they changed the layout of LinkedIn in its early days, and probably for close to the first 10 years. When you logged in, you didn't have a news feed.
No.
You went straight to your profile.
And it was a job search tool. I mean, that really was kind of what it started with.
And the reason they did that is because when people would log in, instead of trying to meet other people and trying to interact with other people, they would go and learn about themselves. It's all about me.
Yes. Yeah.
Oh, how sweet. And if you notice in the most recent major update that LinkedIn did, you actually have to think to go to your own profile.
Right. Yeah. It's like, wait a minute. What button do I click to get there?
Yeah. So LinkedIn shifted it with the intent of shifting how people use the platform. They said, it's not about you anymore. It's now about your interaction, your communication with everybody else. And that goes into, you know, your profile. How many professionals do you see don't have their profile completely filled out?
Most of them, to be honest.
It is. It's most of them. And that is actually the biggest, I would say it's the #1 violation on LinkedIn. So I think it's probably about 5+ years ago at this point, LinkedIn formed a formalized relationship with Bing, Google, and all the other search engines on the market. When you type in a name to any search engine, they search LinkedIn first.
Yep.
That has now been upped, and it's also Facebook and Twitter and YouTube. But LinkedIn is still first. If you want to know about a person, you type in a name to a search engine, you find their LinkedIn profile. You're not on LinkedIn, you don't exist.
Right.
That's the perception. Which means if you're searching for a job, you're not going to get it. If a potential client is searching to validate you and you're not there, you don't get the job.
Right. Right.
Every aspect of your LinkedIn profile is searchable by the search engines. LinkedIn is nothing more than a search engine.
Right. It is, you know, and I know people who actually use it as their own personal websites, which that in essence is what it is.
Yep. And when you take the time to fill out your profile, you can incorporate all of those buzzwords.
Mm-hmm.
You can incorporate all of your experiences in a long, drawn out way
Mm-hmm.
that you never have to worry about finding ever again or
Right.
remembering, because it's there and you can
Mm-hmm.
always reference it.
Mm-hmm.
You'll notice on all of my materials, if I am sending a resume out for something, or when I do promote, if you want more information about me, go to my LinkedIn profile.
Right. Mm-hmm.
It's elaborate
Mm-hmm.
because I want to capture the SEO aspect
Mm-hmm.
of the LinkedIn profile.
Right.
And I don't
Well,
have to remember it.
Yeah. When I work with people who are in the job market, I tell them, you have a 2-page resume,
Mhm.
and that's where you do your bullets, all those various things that we've been taught, whatever the format of the month is for a resume. But then what you do on your LinkedIn profile is you take those exact same bullets and you expand on them. That's the important thing. It's not just that you say was responsible for a budget of $100,000. You say a lot more about it, and maybe it used to be a $200,000 budget, and you were able to save the company $100,000.
Yeah.
All of those various things. And to me, what's even worse is when I go to somebody's LinkedIn profile and it's so out of date.
Yeah.
I'd rather not see anything than to see something where I'm thinking, well, wait a minute, that's like 4 jobs ago and they haven't bothered to update it. Therefore, and whether I'm wanting to hire them as, a consultant, an employee, one a business partner, all of those things, if they can't keep that current, I'm wondering about everything else that they do.
Wondering is a key word when it comes to the LinkedIn profile.
Because we fill in everything else,
We
right?
do. So there's a big difference between a resume and your LinkedIn profile. Mm-hmm. You mentioned the word was. Mm-hmm. Your resume is about past tense, mm-hmm. bullets, no personal pronouns, right. None of that. Mm-hmm. It's get to the point, mm-hmm. convey the facts, mm-hmm. that's that.
Right. Because they're going to skim it.
Exactly. Your LinkedIn profile is about your story. Mm-hmm. I'm going to your profile to learn about you. Right. When I'm reading your profile, it's as if I'm talking to you.
Right.
I, me, my, and myself mm-hmm. should be used on your LinkedIn profile. Mm-hmm. LinkedIn has come out and said this numerous times. When you write about yourself in the third person, and all of a sudden Mel starts talking about Mel like this, mm-hmm. and Mel wants to tell Deb about that, it sounds inauthentic.
Right. And it's funny because my profile's in third person, and I go back and forth about it.
Yeah.
Does it seem more professional to be third person? Maybe. But am I losing that authenticity? Yes. Let's just be honest about it, because you're right. I wouldn't say, well, Deb Creer did such and such, because your first, really? Okay. Well, good for Deb Creer.
And to that, when you explain your job or your experience as mm-hmm. LinkedIn uses it, it's not about a job description.
Right.
It's about your experience mm-hmm. working for that company.
Mm-hmm. Right.
And that's when you talk about, I did this. Mm-hmm. I managed that. Mm-hmm. I oversaw this. Mm-hmm. And when you explain it in a story format, mm-hmm. it allows me to feel right. like I am connecting with you mm-hmm. emotionally. Mm-hmm. And that's ultimately what you want. Mm-hmm. As you get more experienced and you have what would ultimately be a 50-page resume, mm-hmm. you start using the formula of CAR. CAR. Mm-hmm. Challenge, action, result. Mm. So for entrepreneurs in mm-hmm. particular, you have a company and then you have all these different clients that you work with. Mm-hmm. It's like, okay, well, yes, saying the company name can bring credibility to your mm-hmm. company, but what did you do for them?
Right. And were you just one of 1,000 or more employees?
Right. And did you just walk in the front door mm-hmm. and they bought a white paper from you?
Right.
Did you do that, or were you truly working mm-hmm. with them for like months and you helped them save X amount of dollars, or you helped them grow X amount. You know, so when you use the CAR acronym, challenge, what challenge were they facing? What were their pain points? Notice the wording, because this is ultimately how you market your business.
Right. You're solving someone's pain.
Yes, these are the pain points, the problems, the frustrations they were feeling. And this is what you're laying out in the challenge section. Action. They brought you on. What did you do for them? This is done in first person. And you're not doing I did this, I did that, I did this, I did that.
Me.
Right. Right. It's what actions were taken to solve these problems.
Right.
And then result. What happened? They had this huge problem up here. You came in. How did the situation, or how did the company, or how did the persons involved change?
Right.
Because of the actions that were taken. This is a modified version of the bulleted list to help a prospective client better connect with how you can provide value. They're going to be able to, we get caught up in buzz terms, and we often assume that because we're the expert in our field, that our prospective clients know our buzz terms, and they don't.
Right. And the person who's reading it might not be the ultimate hiring authority. You know, I mean, back to if you're applying for a job, it's an HR person or a recruiter who's reading it. The department manager knows what those buzzwords are, but there's that in between stage where if the HR person doesn't say, "Hey, you need to read this," you know, or same thing, you know, you're talking to a company about working with them. They don't know, you know, those key terms. It's you can put them in there, but explain it.
Right. And also using this formula, you don't want to talk about the company.
Right.
The company, the client that you work for is completely irrelevant, because you're helping them say, the reader go, this is exactly what I'm going through. You helped them solve my problem. This is what you did. Okay. I don't know how to do that, but I do know that if I have a conversation with you and I bring you in, you can help me do that.
Right.
That's where CAR is so powerful, because then they read the result and they're like, I want to feel that. I want to experience that.
I want to save that, do that, earn that, whatever.
Yes. And again, all in first person.
Right. You know, and I tell people, use numbers. Numbers we can relate to. Now, you might have to change them, or not change them. You know, rather than saying that we did 10 of something, which 10 is not really, maybe that's 90%.
Yes.
You know, something, I was working with somebody one time who she did medical insurance billing. She loved it. I mean, and she had always worked for the same doctor. Well, he went out of, he left his practice, so she had to go somewhere else. And so I'm working with her and her resume was about this big, you know, because she'd always had the same job. And, you know, and she said things like successfully processed insurance claims. And I said, okay, what does that mean? Well, she was successful 95% of the time. That's an unheard of number.
Yes.
You know, and then she was able to say, and on that 5%, she was able to get a successful resolution on 90% of those.
Yep.
So, you know, but she had thought, well, you know, the numbers sound, you know, no, use the numbers, you know, and in her case, it was thousands. I mean, you know, but yeah, you know, people, and we see those numbers and they make sense. You know, if you just say, I did such and such, like, but when you put a number to it, then it helps people to understand what it was.
It does. And that goes back to connecting with your audience better. So generally speaking, numbers tell and stories sell.
Right.
And the CAR approach blends the two. It leverages the strength of numbers and it frames it in a way that people can instantly connect with it. So one of the stories on my profile is how I was brought into a company, and one of the ways that I helped them was I reduced their expenses by almost 50%.
Whoa.
Within the first 30 days.
Mm-hmm.
And I did this as a part of a complete reorganization.
Mm-hmm.
A complete.
Mm-hmm.
And so that number, 50%, to just hear 50%, it's like, oh, well, that can go either way.
Right. And
But
was
when
that
you
20
hear
bucks?
about
Mm-hmm.
expenses,
Right.
a
Mm-hmm.
50% reduction,
Mm-hmm.
business owners are like, whoa.
Right.
And businesses are like, whoa.
How do I get me some of that?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But that's how I work with my clients. It's,
Mm-hmm.
I'm not just going to come up with a clever tagline for
Mm-hmm.
you to go out and promote your
Mm-hmm.
business. I'm going to look at how you operate your
Mm-hmm.
business, and I'm going to look at what you're doing. How
Mm-hmm.
can we streamline what you're doing to get better results and make sure that you're doing it in an efficient way?
Right.
No one part of your business should dominate everything else. Mm-hmm. A common early 2000s phrase that every consultant used, and I hate to this day, is you're in the marketing business, no matter what industry you're in. Mm-hmm. You're in the sales business.
Right.
You're in the technology
Mm-hmm.
business. All of this is true.
Mm-hmm.
And all of those things are a part of your business.
Mm-hmm.
And when you look at how they all interact,
mm-hmm.
and you see if there's ways to better connect them and better communicate them,
mm-hmm.
you're going to get better results.
Right. Right. You know, and we've been talking about how you word things,
Mm-hmm.
You know, and use phrases. And it was funny because before the program, we were talking about one of the things that drives me nuts. And that's job titles.
Oh, yes.
You know, I mean, how many times do we look at someone's profile and,
mm-hmm.
or worse, their headline? So that, you know, what's coming up, and it's founder, president, CEO, whatever the title is. And I remember years ago, I went to a networking thing, and the president of you know, this networking association was the speaker, which was why I went to hear her speak. And I remember she said, no one cares that I am the president, the founder, the whatever. And she said, so it's not on my business card. Mm-hmm. And now sometimes we still need that. I mean, because there are people, you know, they only want to work with the founder. They only want to work with the president. They want to know that you're the CEO. I mean, you know, whatever those things are. But she said, you know, I don't introduce myself and say, hi, I'm so-and-so, I'm president. They don't care. You know, they want to know what it is that you do. And mm-hmm. so, you know, you still kind of need your job titles in there, but then describe it, you know, or, you know, all those various things.
So I could not agree more with that statement. All of my clients hear me say this, and they hear me, or anybody who's been to any of my presentations. Numbers never lie, but they also don't tell the whole truth.
Right.
I love, and I get a big laugh every time LinkedIn releases data mm-hmm. about the job positions of people who are on LinkedIn. Mm-hmm. And they say that it's so many levels of, you know, so much of a percentage of executives right. and CEOs. Mm-hmm. The reason for that is because the majority of entrepreneurs say that they are CEO right. of their one-person mm-hmm. company.
Yeah. You're a CEO, I'm a CEO. And we are.
We are.
Mm-hmm.
But we're not a CEO based on the traditional terminology right. of mm-hmm. CEO.
Right.
And quite frankly, if you have a hobby business,
mm-hmm.
you can still call yourself a
mm-hmm.
CEO.
Oh, yeah.
And great. That's great that that's how you think of yourself, but that's misleading.
Right. Mm-hmm.
You know, a CEO has a certain connotation mm-hmm. to it. And yes. to your point, as far as headlines, the headline is about the value that you provide, mm-hmm. not your job title.
Right.
Let me repeat that. Your headline on LinkedIn is about the value that you provide, mm-hmm. not your job title.
Mm-hmm.
So you'll notice, I call it your digital business card. When you scroll over somebody's picture and that mm-hmm. little rectangle that pops up,
mm-hmm.
that is your digital business card. And you see your photo, mm-hmm. the name,
mm-hmm.
your headline,
mm-hmm.
and your recent job experience.
Right.
And sometimes education.
Mm-hmm.
The headline is what makes you different from everybody else on LinkedIn. You're not going to see on my headline about how I'm a CMO or a marketing director. Who cares? How many other marketing directors and CMOs are on LinkedIn? You will see me use my tagline of building brands
worthy of going viral.
Yep. The exception to that is the keyword of speaker. I don't know why, but for whatever reason, and I've seen this not just with myself, but with other professional speakers as well, meeting planners seem to have a hard time with identifying that somebody is a speaker unless you have it in your headline.
Right. They think that that you're not.
Right.
Or, and it's funny, as an aside, I had somebody that told me one time, they said, you should say professional speaker because that designates that you charge. And I went, I mean, that was kind of an interesting concept.
It is a good concept. It doesn't benefit you from an SEO perspective.
Right. Yeah. People don't type in professional speaker. They just type speaker.
Right. And even if they do type in professional speaker, it's not enough to make it worthwhile to reduce that number of keywords or characters that you're allowed in your headline.
Yeah. Don't use up that real estate with words that really don't matter.
That's where your experience comes into play down below.
Right.
And that's where you want to stick to as close to traditional headlines as possible and job titles, and do your research. Don't just make them up. Don't just say project manager. Actually do research on job descriptions because every aspect of your LinkedIn profile is searchable, not only by LinkedIn, but by all the search engines.
Right.
And so you'll notice, well, yes, I'm the founder, I'm the CEO of Omicle. My job title, when you scroll down, is not any of those words.
Right.
It's because that job title will give me the most result from an SEO perspective. LinkedIn tells the search engines what you're an expert in and uses your profile. So what do I want to be known for? And that's the job title that I came up with.
Right.
So when somebody is skimming my profile, they can say, oh, you've got experience in this. Oh, you've got experience in this.
Right.
It's a standard perception that if they do not read the description, they get an idea for my experience.
Well, and this is not the place to be cute.
No, stop being cute.
I've seen people who do that. Well, I'm not the chief marketing officer. I'm the chief fun producer. I'm sorry. First of all, I'm not going to search for that. Back to what you were saying, and it makes no sense. Now, in the text, I might say, people work with me and say that I'm the chief fun producer.
Yes, that is how you use that. And you also do not add buzzwords to your name.
Right.
Your name is your name. That's it. If you have designations after it, I do use the comma MBA after my name. That is okay. Do not put in there professional speaker or
well, aside
CEO.
from anything else, it's against their rules.
It is.
And you can get in trouble.
You can get in trouble, and their algorithm is built that if you abuse that, you just don't come up in results.
Yeah. Or worse, I mean, they can suspend your profile. I knew somebody who did that. She put in her tagline, which was, like tag words. It was like 2 or 3 words, and her profile was suspended. And she said, she literally lost business because she wasn't coming up on LinkedIn.
Yep. The other one is, again, going back to use a tool for what a tool is intended to be used for. A personal profile is about a person.
Yes.
Not a company.
Not a company. I am never, ever going to connect with somebody on LinkedIn who uses either their company name. Now, my company name is my name. So, that there are people like that, but like somebody who uses IBM Corporation. Great. As that's not your personal name. And again, that's against their terms of service.
Yep.
And, or if they use their logo as their profile picture. No. I want to see
That's what you have the banner for.
Yep.
The banner is your personal billboard.
Mm-hmm.
Your personal billboard. If you were to capture the value that you provide or your brand in a single billboard, what would it be?
Right.
If you're on my profile, you'll notice that mine is solid purple. Purple is a key element in my brand.
Yep.
Had purple hair for almost 10 years, to the point where if clients didn't see the purple because of the lighting I was in, they actually questioned me on it.
Oh,
and
no.
They're like, where's your purple hair?
What's going on?
Yeah. So purple is a key element to my brand. My tagline is a huge key element to my brand. That is boom, right there up front. No questions asked.
And not a bunch of other fluff.
Nope.
You know, and you know, even if you don't have that, you know, so maybe you are an employee of somebody's, I mean, all these various things, still personalize it.
Yeah.
You know, do something so it's not that blue thing that LinkedIn puts there.
The other thing with the banner is I've seen people who over clutter it and then you can't see anything because most of the time people are looking at your digital business card, which means while the LinkedIn banner may be this big, they're viewing it as big as your thumb.
Right. Yeah, because they're looking at it on here.
Yep. And if it doesn't scale down and still be legible, it's a marketing fail.
Right. Right. You know, and look at it on, you know, when you've done your, you know, once you've gone through and updated and done things like that, look at it on a variety of things, you know, look at it on your phone, look at it because it moves things.
It does.
You know, on the desktop, your profile image is on the side. On your phone, it's in the center. So if, say, you put your phone number right there in the center, it's covered up. Now, it's not a clickable phone number or anything like that. But if you've put something that's very important there and it gets covered up, then, you know, it was a waste.
My recommendation is actually you don't want contact information in your banner. LinkedIn has a specific area where it keeps all of your contact information. Get it from there. When you export your contact data, you get it. If you need to call somebody, if Deb and I, you know, if we're going to go and we're going to meet at a favorite coffee shop, and I'm running late, I'm going to go to your LinkedIn profile. If you're not in my contacts, I'm going to go to contact information, click on your phone number, and I'm going to call you.
Right. Yeah. And that doesn't work if I click on the banner.
Exactly. Oh, and that brings up another point. People who don't enter their contact information on LinkedIn. You said it perfectly earlier when you said that LinkedIn is the business platform. Absolutely nothing goes on LinkedIn that is not business related.
Right.
Having said that, if you expect to generate business from LinkedIn, then people need to contact you.
Right.
They need to be able to. And if you make it hard for them to contact you, then they're not going to do business with you.
Right.
If they have to click here and find your website and go there and they're not going to do business with you.
And there's, you know, there's so many ways that you can do things like this. You know, maybe your cell phone is your business number. Okay. Then you get a Google Voice number. You know, I taught classes for a while in Denver at Metro State University, and you know, and it was primarily young male students. I don't know why. That was just how the class demographics came out. And so when we were talking about, you know, job searches, I said, so how many of you, if I call your voicemail, it's going to say, dude, I can't take your call. And they all went. And I said, I'm not saying you have to change that because your buddies have that number. Your parents might even have that number. I said, get a Google Voice number that says, hello, this is Brian. I am currently unable to take your call right now. And that's the number you give out. You also give out a professional email address, not thedude@gmail.com. No, you know, there's only, you know, it's so easy anymore to do these things, you know, and heaven forbid that you are in the job market and you use your current employer's information there. Bad form.
The other element to consider is just because your business line is your phone, your cell phone, doesn't mean you have to tell people that.
Right.
List it as an office number instead of a cell phone number.
Oh, yeah.
And a lot of time that is just enough for people to say, oh, this is the office number.
Yep.
They're only going to accept calls between 8 and 5. And I'm going to have to leave a voicemail anyway.
Right. Right.
So something as simple as that is there are easy ways to get around it. But remember, if you expect LinkedIn to be an asset in helping you grow your business and landing your next best client, then you have to make it easy for people to do business with you.
Right.
And I sent you the brilliant insight. It's my white paper. It walks you through every aspect of your LinkedIn profile and how to fill it out and how to engage on LinkedIn in a way that makes you stand out from everybody else.
Right. Yeah. And of course, that is what is key. We have to stand out in a good way.
Yes.
This is LinkedIn. This is not standing out on, on the other platforms. This is standing out in a professional way. But, how many times have we set a meeting with someone or we just met them and the very first thing that we do is we check them out on LinkedIn, especially, in a business context.
Oh, yeah.
So I want to see part of it. I might want to see where they went to school. Do we have something there? What are they listing as their job? And, and if they list just the briefest amount of information, again, that's a negative to me. I want to, if I'm taking the time to look it up, then I want to read information. And so many people are thinking, oh, but that's, I mentioned it before, that's boring. Okay, you're telling stories, you're doing all sorts of things. And so make it interesting. If I'm bored writing it, somebody else is going to be bored reading it.
Exactly. So this brings up a few other key points and a funny story I'll share. Let's start with you and I are meeting for the first time. You go to my LinkedIn profile to get to know me before we have coffee. You're going to look at my profile picture.
Yes.
I should be able, having never met you, go to your LinkedIn profile, look at your picture, walk up to you at that coffee shop and say, hi, Deb, my name is Melanie. How are you?
Yeah.
If I can't do that, you have the wrong picture.
Right. And that is tricky with women, especially because we change our hair color, all sorts of things. And I also tell people it's okay to dress in your picture the way you dress to do business. If you're someone who wears, say, a polo shirt with maybe a logo on it, every time you're out doing business, if your LinkedIn picture, and this is in particular for men, if your LinkedIn picture is the white tie, shirt with tie and jacket, I'm not recognizing you. It's perfectly acceptable to have your polo shirt on as long as it's clean, all that good stuff in your LinkedIn picture.
Yep. And a funny story about this. I had this guy who I codenamed Naked Man.
Oh, no.
He kept looking at my profile and I was seeing it in the data and I'm like, who is this naked man? The profile picture that he had was of him on the beach. And it was from about waist up. But to me, he looked like a naked man on LinkedIn and I didn't know him. Long story short, I did actually know who he was, but because the picture was so far back, I didn't recognize him and I only saw what looked like him being naked. So that's first of all. And then if you understand how people read your LinkedIn profile, they look at your picture, they read your headline. If your headline is interesting, they read your summary. And by read your summary, I mean they read the first 2 sentences. If that's interesting, they'll read the rest.
Right.
Then from there, they will scan the rest of your profile, primarily reading headlines, which is why headlines and titles are so important. And then if something from there is very important, then they will read the description. Right. So from a psychological perspective, meaning the human perspective, if you understand how people leverage your, they interact with your profile, and then you understand from an SEO or a tech perspective, you can get the best of both worlds and produce more results. Right. The big thing to remember with LinkedIn is it's not, just because you create a profile doesn't mean you're going to get this instant flood of business.
No. Oh.
No, I'm sorry.
Bummer.
LinkedIn is actually about nurturing the leads that you have.
Right.
So again, shift the perspective,
Mm-hmm.
you shift the result, you shift the actions.
Mm-hmm. Right.
I said that backwards, but you get the idea.
Well, and 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 we're almost out of time. Which, good golly, we just have to do this again.
Okay.
Then it's not about just having that. Then it is about being active on there.
Yeah.
About posting content. We didn't even talk about posting somebody else's content. But we did kind of at the start, and I wanted to circle all the way back to that. It's okay to post somebody else's content as long as then you're saying something about it. So you can say, I read this great Forbes article. It had these 5 points. I want to add a 6th point. Or, I disagree with point number 2. Or, Melanie just wrote this great blog post and I really like it. Because part of it is I want to get your attention by talking about it. But I don't want to just say, this is a great article. No, because we all like that. There's a hello, but I want to know it's as you were saying at the very start, I want to know that you can think for yourself. So even if you're agreeing, I want to know why. So you would say, in my experience, I found, or had this same situation, whatever. So it's going to take a little bit longer, but it's worth it because you showed that you can think for yourself. That you're not just regurgitating, and it's perfectly fine to use somebody else's content. Don't ever take credit for it. But yeah, it's and there's only there's so much content out there. I mean, for people who say I don't know what to post, hello, there's nothing that you can't find content for, and there's certainly a lot of content curation sites, even all these various things. So because it's back to exactly what we were saying, with the other search engines. They also, and LinkedIn search engine itself, wants to see that you're using LinkedIn. They don't want to bring you up in the search if the last time you updated your profile was in 2014.
Mm-hmm. So that, real quick on that before we end, posting content is one thing. Mm-hmm. I guarantee you that you will build your credibility, build your network, and land more clients by engaging with other people's content more than you will by just sharing your own. Right. And the recent LinkedIn algorithm updates back this up. If you only ever share content, the priority in the news feed, your priority goes down, which means people will see your content less. Right. If you engage with other people, like we've talked about at the beginning and just now, your priority goes up. So for example, yesterday I was on and somebody had posted a question about what a brand is. And my response was, yes, a brand is what they had said, but branding is this. Yep. And what was interesting is to follow the thread is the majority of the comments were, yes, that's right. Yes. Great job. I agree. And yeah, it's like, that doesn't tell me anything. That doesn't tell me you can think for yourself. That doesn't tell me how you work with your clients. It doesn't tell me about your state of mind when it comes to being in a professional situation. Right. And you could tell by the original poster's feedback to each person, because they were really good with responding, that mine stood out. Right.
The others, they clicked the like button.
Exactly. Oh, the like button. So here's my challenge. I challenge you to go 2 weeks and you're not allowed to use the like button.
Oh, no. And I have to write something?
Yes. And here's why. Remember, Deb, we're going for coffee. And if we're sitting there and we're having coffee and we're doing this new invention thing called a conversation where you talk a little and then I talk a little and then you talk a little again, imagine sitting there and as you're talking to me, I go, like, like,
happy face.
Yeah. That's what it's like. Right. Now, from an algorithm perspective, using the other emotions is beneficial and it helps with boosting. But again,
who cares?
Yeah. from a business perspective, you're there to build relationships and generate leads for your business. Like doesn't do that.
No. Even if you click like, still say something.
Yes. Yes. So my challenge to your viewers or to your listeners is to go 2 weeks and do not use the like button and see how your results change on LinkedIn. You're going to see a drastic difference if you stop using the like button and start commenting.
Right. Cool. Well, good. Gosh, Melanie, we are at the top of the hour, and this has been so much fun, and we've just scratched the surface on this.
Definitely.
And so we definitely have to chat again. But until then, how do people find you and connect with you online?
You are more than welcome to go to my website, omicle.com, OMICLE.com. From there, you will be able to easily find under the contact page where you can find me across all social media platforms that I am on. You're welcome to connect with me on LinkedIn. And when you connect with me, mention that you listen to this podcast. And, that way I know where and how you heard about me. And I can be like, hey, Dad, guess what?
Yeah. Well, and we didn't even talk about the fact that when you send a request to connect, always personalize it. Don't just tell people why, and you might say, I listened to your interview. It was a bunch of hooey, but I still want to connect with you.
I would love that. But my favorite one to not use, and I get this every time I give a presentation because I tell this, is because you are a person that I trust, I would like to connect with you on LinkedIn. It's LinkedIn. It's social media. Get over yourself.
And you don't know me. How can you trust me?
Thank you.
Yeah. So my gosh. Well, are there any final thoughts you want to leave everyone with?
Reach out to me and let's have a conversation.
Cool.
Whether it be branding, marketing, social media, reach out to me. I have a Facebook group, Brilliant Branding, and
I joined it.
I know. I saw this morning and I accepted already. So you are in. You'll see that's where I tend to have more of my raw conversations.
Cool.
And I would just connect with me.
I love it. Well, we will definitely have you on again. But until then, I'm Deb Creer. I've been having an absolutely fascinating discussion about social media, but in particular about LinkedIn with Melanie Asher. And until next time, everyone have a great day.
Tune in for our next program for even more trends, best practices, and techniques for how to make your business a success. The Business Power Hour, hosted by Deb Creer, is proud to be part of the C-Suite Network.